I think that 2024 to encourage agents out there is don't give up. Keep doing the basics. Tap into a company or a person or a broker that you have a good relationship with and stay encouraged.
Hey, so we're here with Deanne Nelson with New Key Realty in Nashville. And I've known Deanne for many years. She started in real estate about 17 years ago and decided to pursue it as a full-time career. She's licensed in both Tennessee and Florida and fell in love with Tennessee in the early 90s, moved here, and is a graduate of Belmont University, where I'm also an alum. She currently serves on various committees and is the chair of the membership committee of Greater Nashville Association of Realtors, or the Greater Nashville Realtors. Her intent is to give back to the community by being a positive influence and impact within the real estate industry for the consumer and other agents. Thanks for being here, Deanne. Good to see you.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it.
So how are things going? I know it's been a slow year for many, but you have managed to stay busy recruiting and busy on committees. So tell me kind of what's going on, what you're seeing out there in the marketplace now, because I know it's challenging for a lot of agents, but what can they do right now to sort of keep the needle moving and keep the train going down the tracks?
So the best advice or things that I talk to my own agents about are back to basics. Yeah. Start thinking about what you did when you started your business. How did you find those first clients? And go to that sphere of influence, the people that are past clients, family, friends. And when conversing with them, look for life changes. People are always job changes, moves in and out of state, increasing people in their household, decreasing people in their household, estates, deaths, births, divorces, marriages. All those life changes create a potential need for a new property. Yeah. And buyers become sellers over time as well. Right. And I think that also working with first-time buyers, they're still out there. Affordability is a challenge, but they are out there. So back to basics, and don't be afraid to look for new things that might be available to try.
No doubt. And I don't know, I think we all experience this sometimes, but like it's almost like this maybe fear of the phone. But I think right now more than ever, and the top agents really talk about this, you see out there across the nation, but really time blocking and making a lot more calls than you normally would, because there's people out there that need help, but you have to find them. And it's just having a really general conversation that you're there for them, even if they have an agent. Well, hey, if I can ever be of help to you, let me know. I don't want to steal you away from your agent or anything like that, but just so that they know that, hey, if you ever considered making a move, just let you know I'm here for you, that kind of thing. Ricky Carruth is really big about making lots of calls. He's down there in the Gulf area, but it's really, I think, one of those times where you have to make more calls, don't you? Mm-hmm. You have to get on the phone.
Yes, I think that's true. And I do think there is fear of the phone. However, nobody can shoot you or kill you through a phone, right? Like the worst thing they can do is hang up on you. And that's rare. People generally are really nice when you get them on the phone and start to talk to them. Because if you're genuine about what it is, and whether I'm talking to potential clients or to potential agents, and being a broker owner, those potential agents are also my clients, right? And so it's just letting them know that I'm willing to put myself out there and give them the education for whatever it is that they're looking at, whether they're going to sell a home, buy a home, or they want to build their real estate business to the next level. Right. Then if I have that truly in my heart, then it's not really hard to talk to people.
Right. What are you seeing? I mean, I think I probably know the answer, but for the folks out there, what is the biggest problem that they're seeing, or what are the perceived problem even for moving forward into maybe purchasing a home right now?
Well, affordability and the amount of the payment is something that scares them. I actually just had a client, potential first-time buyer, say to me, well, not everybody can afford a $4,000 payment. And I said, you don't have to buy a house that has a $4,000 payment, And there are those places out there. I think educating people that sometimes that first purchase, you have to remember it's a first purchase. And when you look at the average amount of time that you might live in that house, and I can give you an example of a couple that bought outside of the city, and now they're looking at moving in, and they have a lot of equity in that home.
Yeah.
And so with good guidance, then that decision's not hard to make.
Right.
And it can be done. And we can take things, and with good lenders beside us
Mm.
on the team that I can work with, then I can help them structure that so that it looks right and makes sense for them.
Yeah. One of the things that we've noticed is the way people are succeeding is, in this time where interest rates have gone up on mortgages, guess what else has gone up? Credit card rates.
Hmm.
So now you have credit card rates at 24, 25% is the average credit card. So you have people that maybe are in a home and they have a low rate. They have equity in their home, but during the time of the stimulus, Stimmy 1 and Stimmy 2, we call it, they actually spent more. And so now they've run their credit card debt up, savings is down perhaps. And so now what we're coaching them on is how to actually structure it to where we show them in math, on paper, how they can pay off debt with the sale of their home and get into a position where they're spending less per month. Even though their house payment may go up, their total debt load is going down because they're able to wipe out the debt using the equity of the home. And so now they're all of a sudden back into the game of moving up or moving to the house or the neighborhood that they want to move into. That's been really powerful lately. What do you think about that?
I think that's a great idea. And also, if they're going to take that equity, to use it wisely.
Mm,
I've been around for a long time, as have you. And I can remember about 20 years ago when people were taking equity and they were not being wise with it.
mhm,
And so then they didn't have that opportunity to use it to their
mm.
advantage. So I think that's great counsel.
Yeah, I mean, what we've seen is like, people have, say, $180,000 of equity, let's just say, and they were going to roll all of that into the new home, but maybe they have $80,000 of credit card debt or 60,000. And so that those payments on those credit cards
Hmm.
are astronomical. Or maybe they have a car payment that they kind of wish they didn't have the car payment anymore, but they're upside down. Instead, what we're showing them is a free analysis of what their total blended rate of their debt portfolio is. And so we can show them that, hey, you've got a rate at 3.25% on your mortgage, but you've got all these other debts that have a really, really high rate. What is the actual blended rate of your debt portfolio? And by showing them that and then showing them how they can structure to pay those debts, some of those debts off, and this still have maybe 100,000 to put down on the new house. Now they're in a much better situation and they're paying less per month and they have the home that they want. That's where we're showing the win-win right now. And that's the play because you have to sort of give what the defense gives you, to use a sports analogy, right?
Mhm.
And so the defense is giving you these situations where you've got high rates, but high rates is also on the consumer debt that everyone has. And so if we can mitigate that and put it into something that's actually good, which is a piece of real estate, which historically goes up over time. Credit card debt goes up over time, but that's not good. So there's no asset there. So except for the little piece of plastic in your wallet. But the home, you want to get into where if you can get into the home, still put some money down to get your payment where you want. But then maybe it's not exactly where you want. But if you've wiped out $1,000 a month of credit card bills, well, now all of a sudden we're talking, right?
No, I like that. I think it's good counsel. Plus, if they have that down now, if they've got that paid down, they can take the amount, or at least a portion of that amount that they were paying, and apply that over here on their
Yeah,
principal in addition to what their
exactly.
payment is.
Yeah, we've seen people actually, save so much money that maybe they have 28 years left on their mortgage, or maybe 25 years. They're thinking about moving, and they take that savings, and even though they were, their payment goes up, they're saving so much from the mitigating the credit card debt and wiping those out. They're taking that difference and applying it to their mortgage, and they're showing them how to pay their debt or their mortgage completely in
Yes.
say 15 years, 12 years, 13 years, something like that. And now obviously that's hugely impactful and that's true wealth building. So think about that, guys. If you're out there and you're thinking like, gosh, I may move up in a home, not sure how to do that. We've got this debt. We've been thinking about taking out a home equity line of credit, but then now you've got two payments. You still got your mortgage payment. You've got the home equity line of credit, which are still high rates anyways, 9%. But now what if if you're thinking about moving because you've outgrown your home or you want to get into another neighborhood, whatever the case may be, now maybe it's a good idea to contact our team, do a free analysis of your debt portfolio. In 15 minutes, we can show you exactly what your blended rate is. And then maybe you can be into the next home and saving money at the same time and pay the home off sooner than what you were actually on track to pay off your previous home. So a great idea. So Deanne, talk about, the fact that, I know a lot of time these down times where when business is slower, it's a great time to buckle down, sharpen the pencil, educate people. Talk about how you help educate agents, what you're out there doing, because I know you do a lot of that.
So at my office, we do 2 Tuesday meetings a month, second and fourth Tuesday, and I usually generally try to put in a workshop. And when I say that, because you would hear a lot of companies that will say that, but what we do is we're more of a round table on those meetings. It's
Mhm.
not "Oh, here's the office meeting, everybody, thanks for coming. Here's your donuts. Bye-bye." Right now, we are actually having book discussion on, Who Moved My Cheese,
I love it.
because some of these agents have never been through this yet.
Yeah.
And when I say been through this, this is not at all what we saw many years ago. This is more of a natural whatever consequence after COVID, et
Right.
cetera. But so that we'll do like book discussions to go through that. I also believe in developing that agent as a person. So my philosophy is if I create an environment at my company where an agent can become all that they were created to be, then I've done my job, because what they learn to do at my company is to grow their business, to grow themselves professionally and personally. Then that goes over into their personal life outside of the office. And hopefully I've
Mhm.
made a difference.
Yeah, and you do. I mean, you're such a kind person. And right now, I mean, so many agents are leaving the industry. I mean, loan officers leaving the industry, and so it's stressful out there. I mean, there's a lot of, anxiety. People are sort of almost traumatized by this whole confluence of events that have happened where we thought inflation coming down was going to keep, make rates come down. There's just less transactions. They're out there. People are closing. Their closings happen every day, but it's very stressful right now for people, right? I mean, there's a lot of anxiety. What are you seeing as people just from a mental health standpoint? Because that's a big push for me. I mean, this is one of the most stressful industries that we can be in the real estate and lending business. It's historically ranked one of the highest ones. And so now, crunch time, you've got people that are leaving the industry, going back to maybe bartending or whatever they were doing, because there's not just homes purchases falling from the sky. But what are you seeing, or what are you doing to stay mentally fit? And what are you seeing your agents do? Talk about how you're seeing anxiety and that sort of thing and stress play out right now in this marketplace.
So one of the things for myself personally is that in the morning when I get up, make my coffee, I sit down, the first thing I do is 10 minutes of total silence, whether that ends up being prayerful or just meditating or trying to say, I'm not going to think about anything, just focus on closing my eyes and it's black, right? Like
Mhm.
just no thoughts, just sit still. And then I journal and I put down what I'm grateful for first. And sometimes I write a prayer. Sometimes I write what has happened. And I remind myself that there will be provision. I just have to do the steps and I have to stay focused on that, because if
Mm.
my mind goes over to the negativity and the fear, which can happen, I can wake up
Mhm.
sometimes in the night and not be able to go back to sleep, total transparency, but I have to remind myself and never make decisions at night.
Mm.
My brother told me that years ago. Never make decisions in the dark because it will always look better in the morning. And then I run. I think taking care of yourself
Oh,
physically
yeah, for sure.
is big, because I joke about it and I say, running keeps me from like slapping someone, but
Mhm.
I mean I just do that because it sometimes I get creative ideas. Sometimes I think about things that I can do for my agents. And I've started for over the last 6 months, I send out to my agents a Monday minute. And I try to keep it in about a minute to a minute and 10 seconds or so, and just giving them something positive to
I
go
love
on
that.
that week and letting them know that I believe in them. And I've told them, press into me.
Yeah.
You got to have somebody to go to that you is a safe zone to say, this is tough right now, or it's not working. I'm concerned. I don't know. I may not have a concrete answer that moment that day,
Right.
but I sure will put my brain together, because everybody needs an area that's safe to discuss, brainstorm, talk through, and then execute.
Right.
And time block for that, allow for that, because otherwise I have a tendency to think real estate all the time,
Right.
like
Right.
all the time.
How do you turn that off? Because I know sometimes, real estate can be like a 24/7 job and, mentally. So what do you do to turn that off? And
And I'm not sure that I totally do. I mean, I love what I do. So if I meet you out on the street and we start talking, I'm just probably
realization gonna come up.
naturally
Right.
gonna it's gonna come up. But I don't try to make it this I'm working and I'm
Mm,
on and I have to
mm,
talk to you about it. So if it doesn't come up, that's not a big deal.
yeah.
If it does, fantastic. But so I don't know that I ever shut it off totally. I guess when I go camping sometimes and I'm away, but then I always take my laptop. So I'm
Yeah.
still kind of connected, I
Right.
guess. But you just have to time block and allow. Probably that time in the morning for me is when I just really
Right.
reset.
So what do you see coming up here as we move into 2024?
Well, I'm excited for 2024. I think there's a lot of good things that are going to come. I think that in our industry, as I said before, life changes are always going to happen. So to be at the ready for somebody when they need that, I always tell my clients, you are the driver. I'm just the navigator.
Mhm.
I'm here for you, whether it's going to be 6 months or 6 years, but I'm going to be your friend and we're going to get together. So I think that 2024 to encourage agents out there is don't give up, keep doing the basics, tap into a, a company or a person or a broker that you have a good relationship with. I want to be that person that is that, and stay encouraged
Right.
because this too shall pass. And the interest rates, I mean, I'm old. So the interest rates, I've bought a house in double digits once, and my first loan on a business ended up being in the 20%.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it goes back to, there is a way to win in this market. And that way is to lean into, what the defense gives you. Is leaning into this fact of, if you've got high interest credit card debt, you've got other debts that need to be mitigated. Let's work on getting those, paid off. And if you've got a home to sell, maybe the equity from that home can be used. So it's partnering up with the right people with the right strategy, because now more than ever you've got to have a unique strategy. Otherwise, people just get bombarded. And if you're going to just watch the regular news and be bombarded, it's going to be negativity. It's gloom and doom. CNBC, the market's going to crash. And as we've seen, the Crash Brothers were wrong. Inventory is so low. We're not likely to see the inventory catch up for many, many years to come. And so builders are still giving 2-1 buy downs. Sellers are more likely to give you an interest rate buy down right now. So lean into that, because there's no reason to take what the standard market rate is. Instead, look at getting the seller to pay the rate down for you, get a lower rate, get the payment that you want, and know and understand that every chief economist out there is predicting lower rates to come in the next 24 months. When exactly, we don't know, but they're coming. So at that point, you should be able to refinance, because depending now, it doesn't mean if you put 1% down and you haven't paid the note down very much, you're going to be able to refinance. So there's going to be parameters, but in all likelihood, you should be able to refinance, get your rate lower. And so partner up with a great agent, a great realtor, a great lender, and get your dream team on your side so that you can figure out the way to move forward. So,
Mark, I think that's key. If I could just say that to have an agent that has a good pipeline of team in place. And I try to teach that to my agents and do that myself too. And that means my title people, they know who I am. You know who I am. If I need to discuss something with you, I can get, you know what I'm saying? Like
yeah,
I have somebody who knows what they're doing, and I can with confidence tell, especially like a first time buyer, because they're out there. And I just spoke
yeah,
to one the other day who shared with me that there was so much information they weren't getting that I gave them in a conversation.
right,
And I'm like, well, what can I say? You should have somebody that's giving you,
right,
I mean, and I don't want to disparage anyone, but I want to say that make sure when you're looking at that you have a team in place with an agent and a lender, because you have even helped some of my clients to tap into reducing their debt and getting ready to buy, and to not be afraid of that. Don't be afraid of doing that. If it takes some time, it will be there. Last thing I say is we do have that election year coming up. And so that's going to be an unknown and how they play that
yeah,
out, but they'll be watching.
yeah.
you know.
I think so too. And then, what's going to happen with rents? I mean, rents continue to go up. And so I think you just have to look at where your rent is now if you're a first time buyer. So we kind of talked about a couple different things. One, a buyer that's maybe a move up buyer, already owns a home, taking the equity and some of the equity, paying off debt. But a first time buyer, I think there's where you guys are particularly frustrated because the rates are higher. Now, what you could buy a year ago, 2 years ago is less. But that's where A, you want to get the seller to help. And B, think about what your rent is going to be doing. Is your rent likely to increase? And so understand that when you're paying rent, you're paying 100% interest, and you're really paying someone else's mortgage down on that building or in that home that you're living in that you're renting. Whereas if you're building equity now, we have down payment assistance programs which actually don't have income restrictions. You can do 3.5% down, and it can be fully forgivable at closing. So you're moving in with instant equity, putting nothing down, and there's very, very low requirement entries, very low barrier of entry for that. So if you need information on that, reach out to Dan. How do they find you, Dan, if they want to work with you or want somebody on your team?
They can reach me at my direct cell, area code 813-401-7809. I'm on Facebook as Deanne Dudley Nelson. And of course, we have a new Key Realty page. And so you can message me there, or you'll find me on Instagram. I'm around.
Look her up, guys. All right, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.